what a scary privilege it is to try to follow that. That was incredible. I was telling the story earlier when I was a freshman, back when assemblies were assemblies. Mr. Paisano came out with a broom handle, and there was a weird Red Ryder piñata on a basketball hoop, and he beat the piñata off the hoop. And the only problem was the guys playing that night had to wait 5 hours to play, right, Cause? Yeah, so that was awesome. I want to say thanks to the Hall of Fame committee for making this a reality. Congratulations, Jacob, that was an awesome story. You're right, these are our roots, we can leave and come back, right? Mr. Paisano, my dad, Cause, Jack, these guys belong where they are tonight. I'm in this hall, and I said it when I went into it, I can't hold a candle to some that are in it before me, and this group here. These were the people that I idolized, and I still do. I was always the little kid that loved being around the big kids, doing chin-ups on horse's arm, following my cousin Jack playing baseball. This is a privilege for me, because my dad said it best today when he says, I retired in 2001, but I really never left. This was my life. This was my family's life, so congratulations. It's a little scary knowing that there's kickoff with a billiard and a Paisano at the microphone, right? So I'm going to do my best. I got a couple of pages, bullet points. Well, he thinks he can get out of a penalty, so. I had the honor of presenting my father into retirement about 17 years ago. And that was really cool because I had never done that. And there's been a lot of things in the last 17 years I've never done, being a dad, a whole bunch of things. A lot's happened since then because he's never left coaching. Even though he's on a couch or helping someone or talking to someone, he's still involved. Since then, and prior to that, he's been a Dapper Dan Man of the Year. He's won a prestigious OVAC Hall of Fame recognition, the OVAC Coaches Hall of Fame, the West Liberty State College Athletic Hall of Fame, and on August 23rd, the pinnacle of my life and having his last name was seeing my name on that football field, which just, I can't put into words what that means. So the last 17 years, Dad, since you retired, you've done a good job of staying active. There's really not an introduction that I'm going to give that's going to make you know who he is any better than I can deliver it. You know, coaches are measured and players are measured on statistics. That's how they get into Halls of Fame. Between 1979 and 2001, thanks to some amazing coaches, amazing families, and a lot of phenomenal football players, they won 185 games. They lost 79. They tied one. I still think that game was fixed. It was at Bel Air. The lights went out every time Todd Robinson scored. I was just a kid. My mom wanted to throw me out of the bleachers. 0-0 tie, go figure. 185, 79, and 1. 2 nationally ranked teams, 3 state title teams, 4 state runner-ups. And a third of the time, this program was playing for it all. That's hard to imagine. That's and a lot of people had a hand in making that happen. My slant tonight in introducing him, it's a little different. The statistics kind of get you here, but I want to talk about the impact. Jacob said it best, people here impact us all. He's right. I want to talk about the people that he impacted in a home. There were 4 of us out on Sunrise Lane. A school system, a community, and thousands of student athletes, thousands that he still keeps in touch with. And I'm going to talk from 2 buckets, right? There was the beginning, pretty simple, that really kind of was the pinnacle because we went straight to the top, right out of the gates, and then the beginning of the end. And I remember the night you showed up at our house, sometime in the spring of '79, and he had been appointed as the coach. I was just a kid. I was probably playing Atari, unlike today. Mr. Paisano and a group of people came out, and my father had been appointed the head football coach. There was a lot of emotion. I was just a 7 or 8-year-old kid at the time. And I remember over the years you guys talked about it because it's in a framed news article on his wall. You talked about what you wanted to accomplish. You wanted to bring national attention to the high school. You wanted to build a state-of-the-art program, and you wanted to win championships. But that all happened in '79, and I remember that night. In the beginning, the first 4 seasons included 2 state semifinalists and a state runner-up, right out of the gates. And I don't know the school's history prior to that, but boy, did they come out fast. In the first 19 seasons, 15 playoff teams, 2 undefeated teams, 2 nationally ranked teams, 4 runners-up, and 3 state titles. 2 of the 4 teams that did not make the playoffs in that first 19-year run, I played on and my brother Paul played on, and they were 7-3. And let me tell you how you can become tarnished quickly when you don't play an 11th game, because that's how it was. The community, and Horst, you said it best, we got spoiled. Athletes and coaches spoiled the community, and there was 2 times we didn't make the playoffs, and it was tough to be on that. And I'll go to my grave, and I'm going to support something that Mr. Paisano said. There was nothing like the aura of Brook football for about a 15-year period. Nothing like it. I'll never forget the night of this championship game in Charleston. You guys were getting ready for the pregame, and a state trooper came running over with Bill Elsesser, and he said to my dad, he says, "Coach, we got a problem." He says, "What?" He says, "We have 68 charter buses that don't have a place to park, and they're from Brooke County." And I don't remember the exact quote, and I'm not going to repeat what it was, but it was something to the effect of, "I got a game to coach, you got to find some buses to park." But that's how it was. They went everywhere. People went everywhere. Green and gold was magnified everywhere. We made, in art class in school, we drew jerseys that had 71 and 46 and 30 on them because people wanted to be a Brook football player. That's what it was like. And trying to explain that to someone, they look at you and they're like, "Dude, it's high school." And I was like, "I know." It was crazy, and there will never be anything like it. I hope it can be, but it's going to be tough. The beginning of the end, and you saw it coming. Sports were coming, the population was decreasing, economic conditions were changing, relationships start to deteriorate. And I remember watching you go through failure. And that was hard. Because being the last of 3, you get to learn. And it was tough being the first of 3 that saw that. And I appreciate your mental toughness in getting through that. A couple of tough times. And I appreciate that. Thanks for showing us that. Now, about those 4 people that grew up on Sunrise Lane in that house. First of all, my mother, who was and still to this day awesome. When he called me in August and told me about the field dedication and this, I looked up to the sky and I said, "I'm so thankful that they're both alive for this." Because I can't put into words what it means to be part of that family. But we had an unbelievable mom, an unbelievable supporter in him, and 3 siblings that we bled green and gold. We went everywhere. And I tried to figure out for years what our journey was, because it was all football. And I was cool with that. But without telling us, you said, "Kids, I'm going to teach you a couple of things, and you're going to have to figure out what they were when you get older." And I figured them out. So I'm going to share them with you. First thing, and it goes with values. Under my roof, you're going to follow God. Wherever we are, we'll go to Mass. It's your choice when you grow up as to whether or not you do that. But under my roof, that's what you're going to do, because we need it and we'll do it together. And we're going to do it around my schedule. Check. Affection. I remember my friends used to come to my house and they would see my dad and my mom give me a kiss on the cheek when you get to be that teenager and you're a little more gruff than you were a couple years prior to that. And he said to me one day, he says, "You're going to thank me for that and your mom for that someday, because that's what love's all about. And we have the right to love you. It's our honor to love you. We will always love you. We have the opportunity to have a lifelong relationship with you and play a part. And you play a part in the equation in having a lifelong relationship with me. There's nothing like a relationship between a kid and his dad. There's not. And I just saw it in you. And we're going to have a relationship probably on a football field because it's around my time. But I was cool with that. We were cool with that. Check. And the value of family. It's not always going to be easy, but we're one. You will make your own someday. Your mom's going to talk about the birds and the bees with you. I'm not. I'm going to be coaching a football team. But you're going to learn about it and you're going to figure it out. And we have 8 grandkids in the family, so I think we figured it out, Dad. So those were the values. You taught us leadership, work ethic, don't punch a clock, finish the job. When we used to leave for school at 6 o'clock in the morning, when the first bell didn't ring, I don't think Mr. Shoot until like 7:20, but he had to park about 400 driver's ed cars, and we'd be going down the road, and he'd already have a pot of coffee in his system, and we'd be riding that Sprint, and you'd be listening to Motown with the window cracked, and be 39 degrees, and you'd be talking about what a great day for football it was. But Mom would say, when am I going to see you guys tonight? And you'd say, when we're done. You were right. Work ethic. I'm going to teach you how to lead others, which is a big, powerful lesson. As you grow, and he still uses this line today, you're going to see people do this, and that's called finger pointing. And I'm going to teach you how to point your thumb. Pointing your thumb's harder. It takes more work, and it strains your wrist. And it's a sign that you're telling others that you can do more, and you're not focused on what someone else didn't do. So you taught us about leadership. And the biggest one is the name. You said, my name ain't for everyone. You was right. And when my name gets tarnished, it's going to be over losing a football game. It's not going to be over doing something wrong. We're going to be about morals. We're going to be ethical. And we're going to do things the right way. And I got to tell you, and it hits me now, and seeing my name that I'm just a byproduct of. I haven't done anything yet. But walking over there tonight and seeing that name on that football field kind of puts into perspective. These last 50 days, they far outweigh any win on a football field. And on behalf of my brother and my sister, we are honored to call you Dad. It's my honor to present to you for induction my father, Paul Billiard.
Oh, Jesus.
Good luck. There's a football game.
Oh, I know. They're all telling me, make it quick, get it over with, and all that stuff like that. I didn't know I did that, TJ. I didn't know I did a lot of stuff, honest to God. This is tough. This is as hard as it gets. You people don't understand what this is all about, being here. And what these guys, it's phenomenal. You can't put it into words. So I'm going to do what I wrote down to do, okay? And I'm going to give it to you just the way I can do it, right from my heart. Well, hello, thanks, and what a special night, okay? I got some unfinished business. At the field dedication, as soon as I mentioned those that we lost, I forgot some people. And I have to do it now. We lost John Brown. I forget him. Brian McCrary, and one of my best friends, Coach Russ Palmer. We lost those guys, and I forgot them. And then since then, we've lost Tim Bland. And we've lost Michael Casanelli. May I have a moment of silence? I thank God for this day. My family and my wife, the girl of my dreams, And I know what Tony's talking about when he starts getting into talking about the wife, because it's a tough thing. She's my girl. I thanks for the opportunity to be here at Brook High School and do what I did. I thank the Board of Education that hired me, the ones that made this possible, and the many boards of education that would not hire me when I was trying to get a head football job in their system. Crazy, isn't it? This is a special honor. It's overwhelming. It's humbling. Lou Holtz once told me at an event, he says, Bud, you know, we sure get a lot of credit for what the kids do, huh? And it's so true. And for us getting into the Hall of Fame, Tony didn't. Nobody told you the truth. I called Tony and says, hey, Tony, I'll vote for you, you vote for me. He goes, okay. We show up at the meeting, and there's Tim and one other coach. So we go in, and we vote. We give them to Tim. I says, Tim, what's the results? He says, you guys are in unanimously. I says, what was the score? He says, 2-1. I don't know who backed out on that. You know, I could stand up here and talk about these guys all night. I'm battling the cold, and I'm going to get through it. I was like this on the sideline many times. These guys have one thing in common. There's a lot of common bonds, but this is part of the 1985 team. The first championship in the history of the school. And if you want to talk about going through a crazy time, it was phenomenal. Okay, Cause, we called him Dewey, okay, or Horse, or whatever. You know, Boots and Gene are happy tonight. They're looking down, okay? And I remember the time when I was coaching Mark. And Boots came to me and he says, hey, Bud Rowe, and you got to look up to him. I said, what's up? He says, if either of my boys give you a rough time, you take care of it. Don't worry about it. I had a green light there. I've never forgotten that. Okay? In 1985 against Parkersburg, he led a defense that put on a defensive clinic on that field, at Laidley Field, and Parkersburg couldn't have scored if they had the ball for 2 days. That's just how tough they were. And he was making plays in the middle of the line like you couldn't believe, and every time he got to stop, he'd point over the sideline. He also was a reason, along with John Brown, that our tackles got a bed by themselves when we traveled. Everybody on the team was stationed someplace, and you guys all know, you linebackers together, you tackles together, so on and so forth. So Georgie Briley and I were on a trip sometime, and we're out making bed checks. So we're walking in. We walk in a room, and we see Don Kosvick and John Brown in the same bed. Now, you can't believe it. We stepped outside, and Georgie says, Coach, we got to do something about it. Now, I got to ask you this question. Did we make the change that night? Didn't we get you guys another room? Oh, it was terrible. We went down. Georgie, where are you? Do you remember that? I hope you remember. That was crazy. Just things that happened to us, okay? All right, then there's Shafe. Uncle Russell's happy. Oh, God, is he happy. All right? Shafe is my cousin. I married into a family of foxes. All the women are gorgeous. I love a reunion because I get to see them all. You know that? Hug them and kiss them. I'm a dirty old man. I might as well tell you that, all right? I'll tell you what. When something went good and Jack did it, he was my cousin. But if he screwed up, he was my wife's cousin. And I told everybody, you know that? It was so good. I tell you, Jack was a big play guy. Schweitzer called me today. He couldn't come. He wanted to be here, and he sent his best to everybody. But you know what? Some way, Schaefer could get open, and Schweitzer would throw the bomb to him. And all of a sudden, he'd come down with the ball. It was just phenomenal. It was great. I remember this stuff like it was. Now, Coach Wejak's here. This is apropos. All right. We're ahead 7-0. Time's winding down. Parkersburg got the ball. They couldn't throw the ball across the street or across the table, let alone complete a pass. Shafe had one interception already that night. They throw it. Shafe brings down the second interception. It's within a minute. He's running the ball up the sideline, and Bill's in my ear. Go down, Jack. Go down, Jack. Go down. If you've never heard him, I could have recorded it and given it to you. He blew the wax out of this ear into this ear. Oh, it was incredible. It was just incredible. And then there's Tony. What a boss. And what a school we had. And talking about the moons in line, I had a principal, an athletic director, and a superintendent of schools that were all players and former coaches. How sweet could that be? It don't get no better. Well, I'll tell you what. Although they loved sports and athletics and so on, there was no concessions for those athletes. They were held to a higher standard, and I loved it. You know why? Because, see, higher standards mean higher expectations. Higher expectations gives you higher results. And that's just the way this thing ran. And that's the way he had the school set up to do. For your information, both of us were Italian descent, Catholic, married non-Italian girls, had 3 children. Oldest one was a female. I have it all here. Okay. Played college football, did okay in college, started coaching in a Catholic high school with maroon and white, and ended up at Rook High School. How about that? Did you ever sit down and talk about? I was going to call you one day and go over that. You know that? I wanted to make sure I was right on all that stuff, okay? You know, I could tell you stories on him and me forever because it was great. We would close his office door, and it could be like a battle royal in there. I was always wanting something. I ain't got the money. I says, you can find the money. I says, give me a chance to raise the money. Can you raise that much money? It was funny. I loved every bit of it. I could talk about this forever. I mean it. You know, as a young boy, I followed sports. I heard at Stonewall Jackson High School in Charleston and Fairmont and Parkersburg, and I had no idea what my future was in store. So what I'm going to do is fast forward. How did I get here tonight? I don't know. God put me here, and I don't know, and I'm thankful. But I'm going to tell you the truth. It all started in Wheeling. After I got out of college, and I worked in a mill for about 4 years. Got laid off, wanted to get a coaching and teaching job, started applying. Had 3 options. Collier's grade school, 6th grade, Buchanan Junior High School, 9th grade head coach, working for Coach Kittowell. I worked for him in college. He promised me a job, and he was held true to his word, and go to Wheeling Central. I didn't even know how I got applied at Wheeling Central until I found out 2 kids I used to play college ball with were on the staff down there. They applied for me because they knew I was out of work. And they figured I wanted to go to work. How nice of them, huh? I was drawing some unemployment. They put me back to work. But regardless, it was awesome. So anyway, I didn't know what to do. Then I had an interview with Coach Urbanik. Johnny, you remember Coach Urbanik. And he was very impressive. And, you know, and he sold me on what to do. But I still was in a mix. I didn't know what to do. So I went out on the roof of Franklin School, and I talked with Dan Fennell, a longtime friend. And I told him my dilemma and my alternatives. He says, you want to coach, don't you? I said, yes, sir. He says, you go to Wheeling Central. He says, Bud, they're light years ahead of the Valley. Well, I did it. I went down there. I can't believe how it worked out. I got my interview. My interview was 3 questions. Can you hold discipline in a classroom? Yeah. Can you start a PE program? Yeah. How soon? This year? You're hired. That was it. I coached for 2 weeks before I even had that interview. It was just something. Well, it was a great experience because I developed PE, health ed, intramurals. I coached football, wrestling, track, went to grad school, at night and summers. I was busy. Coach Urbanik was the master, and he took me under his wing. He was my mentor. I'm sorry for my voice, but, you know, I won't. Let's just forget about the voice, all right? Anyway, he taught me, guided me, corrected me. He chewed me out. If I needed it, he gave it to me. He was a master coach. He had faith in me, and he relied on me. He taught me daily and said I'd be a head football coach someday. And I told him, I don't think so. Well, he knew more than I, and I'm glad he did. After our winter workouts, we would walk downtown to the McClure House. Okay? He graduated Bethany, I graduated West Liberty. He had a martini, I had a Stroh's. Okay? But that was our culture. So what? That's the way it goes. We sat and talked. We did not talk football per se, like how to run the ball or defense or whatever. He talked about a program, how to build a program, and everything that should go into a program. I started a folder called One of These Days, and I started taking notes on our conversations, and I would go home and put them in that folder. Tony and I talked about how you go to clinics sometime and coaches would be sitting at the table with napkins, taking notes. My folder was full of napkins from sitting there talking to Coach. Well, after that year, he went on to Penn Hills, took the staff, they built a nationally known program. And he followed me all the time and stayed in touch. And he says, this is what you want to do one of these days. Well, he left, and Matt Medea, God rest his soul, came in from Newark Catholic in Newark, Ohio. They've won numerous state championships. We had an automatic connection. He gave me a lot of responsibility. He believed in me, and he appointed me to the defensive coordinator's position, and I think I was the first ever high school defensive coordinator in the Ohio Valley, and it was all because of Matt. I stayed with him, and I worked hard, and as I said, he gave me so much responsibility that I really didn't know which end was up, but he just kept piling it on and piling it on. Well, little did I know, I was being groomed to go someplace else to coach. Andy told me, he says, you've got to get yourself in a large, comprehensive high school. And I had a vision. It was this place. I wanted to come home. I learned so much. I thought I had so much to give that I wanted to bring them back to my community. And I did, and I tried. 1971, I got hired here under Sonny Ray. He was a great man. He gave me a lot of responsibility. If today's playoffs format would have been happening then, he'd have been the most winningest coach in the state of West Virginia. I believe that. He was a great friend, and he was a hard person to lose. I was home. I loved the place. I loved the kids. I loved the coaches. I continue to work on that folder one of these days, always hearing from Coach Urbanik. And he told me one time, he says, you going after a head job? I says, yeah, Andy, I've been looking and looking. He said, remember one thing, if you're going to coach it, you better be able to coach every position on the field. I said, yes, sir. And he also said, you know, you're going to have to be a leader and a teacher to your coaches. I said, yes, sir, I know that. So, as I said, I kept working on that folder and making it bigger and bigger, and all the while, I drove that saint that I married all over the state, all over the area, looking for a head football job, only to come out after the interview and tell her, no, hon, and the reason, you've never been a head football coach. Just couldn't happen. And you know, it's crazy. I wondered what would have happened if I never got laid off the mill, or what would have happened if one of those schools would have picked me up. Would I have been here today? But I'll take what happened. I like what happened. 1979, I became the head football coach at Brook. I opened up that folder. I organized it, structured a plan. I'm very proud of what we did, and I'll tell you why. We had two main objectives. Make Brook High School to have one of the finest football programs in America, and construct a program that would be an experience for our student athletes that they would remember forever. And I think we did that. The first thing I needed to do was get a staff. I wanted a staff of individuals who were mature, dedicated, hardworking, committed, were teachers, who were builders of men, shared the same philosophy of what we were doing, and were role models for our student athletes. And they were. I was blessed. Some of them are here right now tonight. I think I'm up every day. I bet you I think of them more than they think of me, because they know I love to practice, and they couldn't wait till we got out of practice. You know that? But while they were there, boy, were they good. You should have seen this crew at work. I tell you what, that staff, that was the key move that I made. I don't care. Of everything that happened here, picking that first staff was the main thing. And I'll never forget, we were down at the field dedication, and somebody got us together, and there were the five of us standing in Georgie, and they took a picture of us. And I was talking to Billy Bayless last night, and he says, Coach, seeing you guys down there together that night was just phenomenal. And you have to be a part of it to know what I'm talking. I hope I can convey how I'm feeling about this. This staff taught our coaches how to coach. They took coaches or individuals that never coached before and made them coaches. I'm talking guys that never played, and we made them coaches. They put on youth clinics. We had coaches from the youth programs come, and we put clinics on for them. We had schools from all over the tri-state area coming to Brook High School to talk with our coaches about what we're doing. And Tony would say, but you're giving away everything. I says, we'll be all right. He says, remember what the Japs? Huh? What we taught them, and now look what happened. I says, Tony, I never forget Coach Paterno at a clinic one time. We were sitting there, and there was a guy from another college taking notes, and a guy put up his hand and said, Coach Paterno, there's a guy from one of your opponents taking notes. He says, hey, good, welcome. Everybody just, what? He says, if I teach him something, and he does it better than we do, I'm going to learn something off of him. So I guess it wasn't too bad, but he got on us all the time about that. It was kind of crazy, but I loved it. We went on the road, me and the coaches, and put on clinics for people, and it was awesome. They attended clinics, camps, and they became real scholars of football. Then the next thing, the administration. I had to go to them, had to go over my policies and talk about what can I buy. And I always had something in my back pocket, because if he wouldn't give me enough money, I always had another alternative on how we were going to get it. But boy, we would argue over so much, you know. And then when I would show him what we could do, he'd smile. And he'd say, hey, that's a good idea. I said, I liked it. When he found out it was his idea, it was real good. I went to the boosters. And I says, look, continue doing what you're doing, because we got the Cadillac program. I says, but I want a blazer and tie for every coach, player, trainer, student athlete. I don't care what it is. I want us uniform. I want identity. And they says, that's great. We'll do it. And I says, hey, that's cool. So even the principal, the athletic director, and the superintendent of schools had a blazer on. I knew we were in good shape. They brightened up the school. When these kids walked into school that first day on a Friday, it was just like a neon light went on. I had teachers thanking me. It was just a phenomenal statement. I said we wanted identity. We were mistaken one time also. And John, I don't know if you were on the bus this time or not, but Bill and Perry, and I knew Georgie was, we were playing Parkersburg, down in Parkersburg, and we went to Shoney's to eat. We had everything so lined up. I mean, our itinerary was amazing. You couldn't believe it. All right. So anyway, we pulled into the Shoney's. And I said to the coaches, get the kids off the bus, put them in front of the buses, and I'll go in and make sure everything's okay. So we got our 90 strong, blazers, ties, a whole bit. I walk up, guy stand at the door, and he says, can I help you, sir? And I says, yes. I says, we're here to eat. He says, well, I don't think you got your time right. And I said, my time right? He says, yeah. I says, it's 4 o'clock, and we're supposed to eat here at 4 o'clock. He says, no, the football team from Brook is supposed to eat here at 4 o'clock. I says, we are the football team from Brook. He said, oh my God, I thought you were the band. I had kids that the only thing they could do was play the radio, all right? And they thought we were the band. Well, needless to say, we walked in there and we sat down, and we always had a clergyman with us. If we didn't take a minister on the bus, I would call ahead and know a priest or a minister in some town who would meet us where we were going to eat to say the pre-game meal prayer. So he got up and said the prayer, and then we ate. We went to leave and pay the bill. I think Georgie was walking out with me, and the manager says, hey, listen, man, we ain't never seen a group come in here like this before and not only look so good, but act so good. Now, little did we know that the girls serving us were all from South. And when they heard we were playing Parkersburg, as we're going out there going, beat the Big Reds, beat the Big Reds. They hate one another down there. It's amazing. Then I went to the moms. And I said to the moms, I says, look, let's continue to do what we were doing. But I want every Friday to be an event. I says, I don't want to just come in, eat, and go. I says, what we're going to do is I want you to dress it up, add a little bit, have them women put their touch on, because only you girls can do that. And then we were going to have a special guest from within the school community, within the school itself or whatever, every week at our meeting. We were going to identify them, thank them for coming, give them a pride shirt, and then we were going to have a minister. So we made every Friday kind of a ceremony for those kids to remember. I don't know if they remembered them, but I sure as heck did. Then I had a support staff. I won't even go into them because there was 1 million people that all was helping us. everything that we were going to do in this program was going to be geared for those coaches, or for those kids. And we wanted to take care of those essentials. And that was good coaching, having great trainers, good equipment, having a strong academic format. We had an academic advisor, and we're blessed to have her here with us tonight. I'm going to say a little bit, then I'll introduce her. We had a year-round grade checking program. We had a study table in the off season. Now think of this, all right? If you weren't eligible in the off season, we didn't let you lift weights with the kids when they lifted. You had to go to study table run by the moms. I went down one night before study table, and the moms would read the same rules every day. You will come in here, you will bring your work, you will sit at your desk, you will do your work. You will not talk unless you ask to speak. You will get a break to go to the restroom and get a drink. If you have an emergency, leave, let me know, or you'll be in trouble. And I'm standing, I said, I couldn't come up with those rules, but that's, and you know what's funny? One mother had her son in there, and I think she was looking at him all the time she was reading the rules. What was unique? We had parents from the school call me and ask me if their kids could come to study table. I thought, this is wacko. Well, this is the impact of Edie Ashworth. I want to tell you what a great woman she is. I'm telling you right now, she was an awesome thing for Brook High School. This lady would check all of our grades, give these kids heck, tell them this, tell them that, and all that stuff. She started test prep at Brook High School for nothing. These kids had come off the field, right, John? You know, the guys, she'd have pizza waiting for them, pop, and they would study after practice, and that maybe even after we've had a film session. That's the kind of dedication we had there, all right? And she was a wonderful person. And the old saying was, you play football? Yeah, you know Miss Ashworth. She was like Hitler. I think the kids hated to go see her. And I want you to do me a favor right now. Edie, stand up and let us give you a round of applause. I've been waiting all this time to have the opportunity to say that because I love her so much. And then we had the mother to all football players, Mrs. O. She was our football secretary, and she kept constant watch of the kids. We brought motivational speakers in for the kids, position specialists, the best and sound off-season program we could develop. Then we had some uniquenesses in the program. We had a weekly dress code. They got scouting reports. We had great film sessions. Those kids had their name on their jerseys, uniform travel bags, uniform warm-ups. Remember, we go to Parkersburg. We're going to play Parkersburg at Parkersburg. It's terrible out. It's raining. It's terrible. All right. First of all, they were huge. So George and I were going to take the kids out on the field, but then we saw Parkersburg walk out. George looked at me. I looked at him. I said, I don't want the kids to see them. They may get embarrassed and not want to go out on the field. So we let Parkersburg go out and warm up. And they come in all muddy and stuff like that. So we walked clear around the stadium, and all of our kids had these real nice green jackets on. And we do our warm-ups in the end zone, and pretty soon the game's going to start. We play the first half. It's a great game. We're both all muddy. We go in at halftime. We always took a change of jerseys. So we put all clean new jerseys on. We come out at second half. We got all white, clean jerseys, and they're muddy as get out, and they looked at us. I think it psyched them out. We beat them. I'm telling you, I think that alone beat them that night. And after that game, we had Brad Kincaid, who was a reporter down in Parkersburg. He came to me and he says, Budrow, we'd love to see yous come to town. I says, why? He says, Buddy James goes into a shell. And I didn't even know it, but we really enjoyed on that. You know, other things we did. Thursday walkthrough in matching sweats. Then the curfew on the night before, game day blazers and ties. I had a guy walk up to me and when the kids were in school one day, hey, what's this bit with the blazers and ties? I said, what do you mean, what's this bit? He said, what's it all about? And I says, well, which one's on food stamps? He looked at me and he said, what do you mean? I says, you just answered your question. They all look alike, don't they? He says, yeah, and I said, I'll talk to you later. I left him. They loved visiting elementary and middle schools, going in there and the kids saying, can I have your autograph? It was awesome. Then the other thing, demonstrating to youth coaches on a Saturday that we would lay out for them, for the youth coaches of the county. My coaches were so great with it, then we would take them and have a clinic afterwards, and then we had rookie night. Remember that? Bringing the 8th graders in, and all of our senior boys sitting there and talking about Brook High School, Brook football, have good grades, work hard. That's what it was all about. You know, and then we had special events, like we went on the Valley Voyager, had team picnics, senior pizza night, went to college football games. Our first day at contact was called Hamburg, and it was really something to behold. Then we had our green and gold scrimmage, our press day. Everything was leading up to game 1. And they loved traveling first class. And we called those charter buses Cadillacs. And then after the season, we had a postseason touchdown club dinner and a roast for the seniors that should have been filmed. Our belief was this: if we did the right things to make good citizens out of our guys, the wins would come. And that was what we tried to do. Our program became the barometer for the Ohio Valley football. I didn't say that. Reno Suckots said that at a dinner I attended. And he said this: they were so far ahead of us that if we didn't decide to do something, we'd have never caught them. And it all happened because of planning, goals, and ambition. And Coach Urbani telling me, you got to do something to step up the program. And in 1987, we played Mount Lebanon, who was ranked in the United States. We beat them and stole their thunder. Now, we had teams prior to that didn't have that opportunity, and maybe could have done it at another time. But that's really when things boomed. The goals of my interview, and you heard results, was to stay good in the OVAC, return to the playoffs, be undefeated, have a state championship, and bring national attention to this school. In my interview before the first game I ever coached here with a reporter, and he said to me, he says, Coach, what do you think about this week coming up? It's my first year as a head coach, and I was excited, thinking about a lot of things. I said, I don't know. I said, well, if you're coming, we're going to be in green and gold, and we'd just like to be 1-0 this week. And it was like that for 265 games. So if it worked the first time, I figured it would work in the last one. See if you guys that are athletes can remember this setting. I want all you guys that play to just blank everybody sitting around you out. I know, hon. I'm finishing. And it went something like this. We're in the locker room. We're talking. We've talked to the offense, the defense, special teams. And I said, all right, let's get it in. And then we finished with this. Let us pray. Pray not to win. God willing, you shall. Pray that no one's hurt tonight. Pray to God. Thank Him for allowing you to be here. And we'll do the same because we love you. And that's the way it was. Barry Bryant once said, if anything went bad, I did it. If anything went okay, they did it. If anything went good, we did it. Now, you guys, look at what we did. Thank you, and God bless you, and I love you.